Hello and welcome to Wellness Wednesday. I'm James Currie with the Communication Department here at MCHD. I'm talking to Dr. Mike Hoppe. He's the senior pastor of Saraland United Methodist Church and our resident, you see my air quotes, our resident Enneagram expert. Mike, how are you?
I'm great. How are you today, James?
Oh, good. Thank you. This is another part in our series that we've been going into about understanding just who you are as a person and how that helps someone's overall mind, body, and spirit, your overall health, just to understand who you are or who your spouse is, who your neighbors are, who your coworkers are. So today we're talking about type 2, which is the helper. So Mike, go ahead, take that away.
Thanks. Yeah, well, I love the Enneagram. I've spent a lot of time and money over the years trying to figure myself out. And I think that's so important to understand ourselves. But Enneagram is a great way for everyone to understand who they are. And for a number two out of the 9 is somebody who may not always want to figure themselves out, because a number 2 is so invested in other people. They may not always spend the time understanding themselves as well. So if you're a number 2 out there watching, it's great that you are, because it's important for all of us to understand ourselves. 2s are helpers at the core. And James, you know somebody who's a 2, right?
Yeah, it could even be a host of, a Wellness Wednesday. So yes, I am in fact a 2. And after I took the personality test and got the results, I felt like I was, reading the story of my life, because it does parallel a lot of the things that just made me figure out and basically say, wow, this is what makes me tick. This is what wakes me up in the morning. This is why I don't think twice about volunteering or having trouble saying no, which is the other biggest part. There are good sides and bad sides of 2s. So not necessarily good, bad, let's say, but, healthy and then stress. So can you go into those just a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And I think maybe your own self-discovery with the Enneagram, discovering you're a 2, is one reason you want to do these series of videos, which I commend. I'm glad that you're wanting to do that. Yeah. So a 2 is loved by so many people. They exude warmth, just like you do, James. You're a 2. People love 2s because 2s, like you said, in the strengths, they love to jump in and help in a crisis. They're the first ones to sign up and say yes. They love to host people. They love to be around people. They love to give and serve. And 2s are really strong in those kinds of characteristics. And so if there was a weakness of a 2, it would be more, at least of the 2s that I know, it would be that sometimes they can lose themselves. They sometimes can neglect themselves. And they might even feel guilty at times for taking care of themselves. And so, like you said, the 2s, at least the ones that I know, will often be afraid to say no because they don't want to disappoint someone else. They want other people to thrive around them, but at the same time, and that can because they say no, that can take a toll on their own physical health or mental or spiritual health, because they're going, and those boundaries are not as clear. But yeah, so in times of really good health, we always say the Enneagrams point to different numbers. You can see if you look at the Enneagram chart, there are different arrows that point in different directions. Mm-hmm. And a 2 in time of health will point to a number 4. And a number 4 personality, if you think of the best type of what a number 4 would be, a 4 is individualist. So when 2s are really healthy, they are doing that work to discover who they are as an individual. They're learning about themselves. They're taking joy in their uniqueness. But in times of stress, that arrow points to a number 8. So when 2s are in an unhealthy place, they can be what you might think of as a negative characteristic of an 8 personality. And that would come across as maybe more dominant, more controlling, obsessive over certain things. So for example, if a 2 gets really just down to the bottom of the barrel, emotionally, they may not act that warm and serving kind of personality that they typically do. That they may come across as a little more angry that way. So those are some of the stresses and the health factors of it too.
Yeah, and in unhealthy times, it's good to try to hide those qualities. I mean, I've tried so hard to kind of suppress those things, but yeah, you're exactly right. When you feel healthy as a helper, um, you know, there's never any rain, there's never any clouds in the sky. Um, you know, People are adopting pets. I mean, and when it's a bad day, uh, you just feel like, you just want to just go back and hide somewhere, and you're just brooding about things. I mean, it can be a polar, 180 of the spectrum. I mean, just from the feelings, and it's sometimes it could be an abrupt mood swing too. But we talked about the twos, and I talked about how it was hard sometimes to say no. Recently I was out of town for a couple of weeks with my family. We had some health concerns going on with my dad, and I had someone contact me to ask if I could help them. Even though I was out of town, there's nothing I could do about it. I wrestled with, could I get away for a few hours? Could I help? Could I drive? It was really, really difficult, and I wrestled with saying no. And that's kind of my Achilles heel, I guess, is it's very hard to say no sometimes.
I think you pointed out a couple good things that are helpful for you in the direction of health is to understand how you respond to certain circumstances. There may be times you need to put on the brakes if you know you're going too far in one direction, and understanding your feelings. You mentioned the word feeling quite a bit, which is really characteristic of a two.
Mm-hmm.
2, 3, and 4 in the Enneagram are what's called the heart triad. Those are the three personalities that really make their feelings, that base their decisions based on feelings. And so right at the heart, they'll ask the question, how does it make me feel? And that's more than does it make sense, which are other numbers, but how does it make you feel is a number 2 right at the very, very core of things. And a lot of psychologists try to question where do these personalities come from? How do we get these different personalities? And there's a question of, is it more nature or nurture? Meaning, are you born this way, or did something early happen in life to make us our personalities? And really, most of the psychologists tend to think we're probably born with those tendencies, but maybe early experiences in life tend to make that pathway much more defined. And for a 2, early in life, a 2 wants to be loved, like all of us want to be loved. And early in life, a 2 learned that they would get love if they love other people, if they serve other people, and they help other people. And by helping other people, in a way, they are getting love in return. And that's the pattern that they learned early on. And so in a way, it's helpful for 2 to know this, because sometimes the serving and the helping isn't simply to serve or help other people, but there may be a more innate need to feel love, to feel like I'm someone who is lovable. And so this is a good reminder for it too, that you are a person of worth that is loved by God, that has dignity in who you are, not just because of what you do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, feelings, for a 2, feelings are very, very important. I just recalled a story my parents told me last time I spoke with them, and it was about being a helper. And it was years ago. I must have been 7 or 8 years old, going to vacation Bible school. And it was in the morning, and we ran out of crayons for our project. So I rode my bike all the way home to go get my, jumbo box of crayons with the sharpener built in to, bring them back to Vacation Bible School, so we'd have enough crayons. So, like you said early on, and, people are products of their environment somewhat. So, maybe some of those tendencies I was born with, maybe some of them I picked them up from, my parents being volunteers and helpers. And, it just goes back to the core of what we were talking about all along through this whole series. It's so important to know who you are, and how you relate to other people. And, gosh, if you can keep yourself healthy, then that applies, like we mentioned, mind, body, and spirit.
And I'd be curious if there are any people watching this video right now that identify as a 2, if what we're saying resonates with any of you. We'd love to hear from you too, if some of these things ring true for you as a 2.
Yeah, probably most anybody that volunteers with any civic organization is going to be a 2. So here are some examples of some famous people here from the Enneagram site, and I'm going to be posting a link to it. But some of these people would be, let me see, Nancy Reagan, Ann Landers, John Denver, Lionel Richie, Stevie Wonder, Danny Thomas, obviously, that's a pretty big one. Let me see who else is listed here. The Music of Journey. I hadn't figured that one out yet, but maybe it offers some tips of being helpful. But I'll post this link with the video, and it's just so fascinating to read about all the different personality types. Anything else you'd like to add about 2s?
Say if you're not sure what your number is, I'd recommend taking that test, and they're online. You can find them anywhere. Just type in Enneagram test. Some are paid and some are free, but I think it can really help overall to find your number, what a 2 is, and then once you know you might be a 2, then to know how 2s relate to other numbers, whether it's for marriage, whether it's for work. That can really be helpful in those situations by identifying you and the people that are in your life.
Yeah, and if if you're a 2 and you want to reach out to me and have 2 talk, we could do that. You could reach me here at the health department, and we can swap success stories or something else. Just, well, gosh, that's me being helpful again, I guess. So
That's right.
well, Mike, thank you very much for your time today, and thank you all for watching Wellness Wednesday.
Enjoyed it. Thank you.